Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, where we have a number of viewers, it's 9:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. We have a bit of breaking economic news. This can be joined with two other stories later in the broadcast. Put it under the glimmer of hope category. The United States Commerce Department reported this morning that orders for U.S.-made factory goods increased 1.8% during the month of February. This is the first gain after 6 months of large declines. Excluding transportation goods, orders rose 1.6%. Factory orders had fallen at least 3% in each of the previous 6 months. January's orders were revised sharply lower to show a 3.5% decline. So this is pretty good news. Now, some news that's not so good if you live in Zurich in particular, but first we'll get to the news. Swiss Re announced this morning that it has named a gentleman named Agostino Galvani as Chief Operating Officer and a member of the Executive Committee effective May of this year. Mr. Galvani has considerable experience. He joined Swiss Re's Executive Board in September of 2005. He is currently the head of insurance and specialty and client markets. He graduated in business management from the Università de Commerciale Luigi Bocconi in Milano in Italy, and then joined Bavarian Re as a trainee. After undertaking various activities, he joined Swiss Re New Markets in New York in 1998, structuring and marketing insurance-linked and asset-backed securities. He then went back to Bavarian Re in 1999 and came back to Swiss Re in 2001. Since September, as I mentioned, he's headed the newly formed Global and Large Risk Division within the client market business function. Now, Stefan Lipp, the CEO of Swiss Re, rather newly appointed himself, has handed the job of cutting 10% of Swiss Re's workforce to Mr. Galvani. Mr. Lipp said business focus and delivery of results have always been the hallmark of Agostino Galvani, and we're delighted that he will strengthen our leadership team. Mr. Galvani will apply the best practice to staying client-focused and accelerate our plan to build a stronger firm. His first task will be to reduce the current global headcount by 11,560 employees, or 10%, over the next 12 months. Very challenging job for Mr. Galvani, but he seems to be the man for it. About 300 miles to the west in London, as everybody knows, the G20 conference is moving ahead. Prime Minister Gordon Brown has opened the summit. It opened several hours ago. Here we have a subset of the main group. In the center is President Obama. On his left is the Italian Prime Minister Berlusconi. I do not know the name of the gentleman to Mr. Berlusconi's right. Gordon Brown is in the lower right, as you see. Gordon Brown has opened the conference. There has been some protests, seemingly confined to professional protesters and professional anarchists. One man, in fact, did die, apparently of a heart attack. Police were trying to rescue him and administer first aid, but were pelted by bottles and rocks from a number of the protesters. There's been some indications before the summit that G20 members are divided on how best to pull the global economy out of recession. The U.S. and Britain are in favor of more stimulus, while Germany and France are in favor of less stimulus and more regulation. There's been some other news as well connected to the summit. The President and First Lady visited Buckingham Palace yesterday, and we have a picture of them meeting the Queen of England and the Duke of Edinburgh. Very interesting thing happened after the introductions. The Queen put her arm around the First Lady, who then reciprocated and put her arm around the Queen. Apparently that's something that's very unusual. Meanwhile, in the G20 meetings themselves, there was the usual interaction between the various leaders. Here we have a picture of President Sarkozy of France applying what seems to be a wrestling grip to the Secretary of State of the United States, the former First Lady herself, who I might add is surrounded by State Department security as well as the United States Secret Service, who gives her protection for life since she's a former First Lady. So the President of France should be a little bit more careful as to where he's gripping. So things seem to be going on pretty well over there. The conference is in progress right now. It's about 25 minutes to 5 in London. At 8 o'clock London time, they're going to begin their live press conferences, so that'll be in about 3.5 hours over here. If anything terribly interesting comes up, we'll come back and tell you. In the meantime, coming from the United Kingdom as well, there was a Super Puma helicopter crash. 16 people were killed after a helicopter yesterday afternoon transporting them from an offshore oil field crashed. Here's the oil field from which they came. We'll pull this up. This is the British Petroleum Miller platform in the North Sea, obviously with more placid seas. The rescuers retrieved 8 bodies from the North Sea and then called the search off because of the high seas. They're assuming that the others are presumed drowned. According to British Petroleum, the helicopter was carrying 14 passengers and 2 crew members and was heading back to Scotland, coming from the rig. Allianz was the lead insurer on the Super Puma that crashed. It's not known who else was on the risk. The risk was brokered by aviation broker Norman Butcher Jones out of London. And according to some market sources, reinsurance pricing for the risk renewed just on April 1st, which was, I think, the day of the crash, actually. According to aviation market sources, the hull of the Super Puma is understood to be insured for about 16 million to 18 million U.S. This would represent a significant loss for the niche rotor wing market, and this is the third in a number of accidents involving Super Pumas. On the 18th of February, a Super Puma ditched about 120 miles east of Aberdeen, Scotland, while approaching an offshore platform. All 18 people were rescued. And last year, 5 people died when a Super Puma operated by the Venezuelan Air Force crashed off of Bolivia. So there may be some other issues coming with Super Pumas. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, 7 people are feared dead after a plane on a government mission went down this morning in the northern Philippines. A twin-engine BN Islander took off from a town in the northern island, heading for another town on the remote east coast of the island of Luzon, but failed to arrive. The plane belonged to a private charter company. It was carrying a pilot, co-pilot, and 5 passengers, including a police officer traveling as part of an official mission. Plane wreckage has not been found. It's assumed that it has crashed in the jungle, and they're looking for it now. The stock market of the United States is way up about 275 points. And at first glance, it could be attributed to the G20, presuming that something positive will come out of that. It could be attributed to the glimmers of hope coming from the economic news, or most likely what it's going to be attributed to is the Federal Accounting Standards Board, which is going to have a meeting tonight and is expected to reverse a significant portion of the market-to-market requirements for the banks. Ergo, the banks are expected to have a very, very profitable quarter, because all of a sudden they're going to have some returning black ink coming into their balance statements. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.